I was looking out the bus window during a normal morning on my way. To work, I saw small drops of water on the outside of the glass. They were rolling down slowly. The drops were left over from the rain that had just stopped. The car moved slowly, alternating with stationary parking in the midst of traffic. Jams as usual. I looked at the people who were walking hurriedly along the side of the road. I saw some people standing and sitting in the next bus. Saw people in private cars that were parked in a row. I let my eyes explore, looking back inside the bus, looking at the people sitting in the same row, while letting my eyes wander aimlessly. It stopped at a man sitting in the opposite row. As soon as my eyes were fixed on him, I could hear his voice coming out even though he didn't say anything to anyone. How can I lie to her? Which I did not return home last night, because the boss has an urgent job, eh? Or what should I say about an emergency? His voice sounded in my thoughts, until I had to quickly turn to another direction to stop this perception. But when I turned to him again, his voice appeared again. If she catches it, there will definitely be a fierce fight. Well, what? And what happened to us? I question in my mind. Mental language? Another familiar voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Is this the voice of God? I asked back in thought because I knew that the familiar voice was God's voice. Yes, it's me, said the voice. Mental language, isn't this for conversation? I don't want to have a conversation with them, I asked, expressing my opinion. It's not exactly. When you deliberately, or maybe not intentionally at all, if you focus on them in a specific way, and if at that time, your mind was free from rough emotions, you will be able to perceive their thoughts. Is that the sound of their thoughts? I asked. Yes, thoughts are characterized by frequencies that are at different levels. They released it continuously. You just looked around and listen again to what they think, the voice of God advised. Then I gradually sweep away at people sitting in the same car, people sitting in the next car, or even people walking in the distance on the street. I scrutinized them one by one, most of them seeming to be ideas made up of frustration and anxiety. Oh my God! When will the car move? I'm being more focused on by the boss. The thoughts of the person driving the sedan next to me. When will I be free from this tragedy and this miserable life? The thought of the woman in the next car. Have I locked the door of the house? The thought of an old woman sitting by the window of another bus. For sure, the homework isn't finished yet. Who should I copy from? The thought of the student next door. This guy smells like crazy. Really disgusting, the thought of the woman sitting at the door. True. Why am I hearing them like this? I asked after looking around. Actually, they didn't want to tell you anything. And what you heard was not their voice. What you perceived was the frequency of thought. If anyone has enough delicate, subtle mind, he will be able to recognize this kind of frequency. Then his soul will translate the signal from that frequency into a universal language, known as the language of feelings. Finally, his consciousness will do the job of organizing and conveying that feeling. Become your language again, he replied. Oh, how complicated are the steps? Why did I translate it so quickly? I commented. It's not complicated. It's actually quite easy, he replied. I think it translates back and forth several layers. Just listening to you explain to me, it shouldn't be easy. I argued in my mind. That's easy because the mechanism for translating feelings. into spoken language is very fast. And regardless of the nationality of the person, you felt that feeling no matter what language he speaks. The moment he sent out that wave of emotion, everyone can translate into a language they can understand. For example, if the person sitting far away being a foreigner when he let out what feeling, you will recognize it in your language. Wow, is it translated for me? I asked. He didn't translate. And there is no translation system either, because this sense frequency is a universal language. So no matter who, whether it's a person or an animal, it can be recognized as well. The thing that acts to perceive that feeling is the spirit when recognizing or experiencing that feeling. You as a consciousness are responsible for communicating it in language, he explains. It's strange. One can recognize the language of animals as well, but never mind. I think someday I'll understand the process. But what I'm paying attention to is, why do they all have more feelings like this? I asked. Actually, I want to tell you that almost the entire world is producing this kind of wave of emotion. Whether it's a poor person, nothing to eat, or a rich person having hundreds of millions of dollars, they were all in a state of anxiety. Based on this kind of fear, there are very few people that does not release the frequency. That comes from this idea. Why is that so? I asked.